Hey guys, welcome back to another RT charting video, and huge thanks to TradingView for putting my recent analysis on oil on their editors picks. That was super cool, super grateful for that, and thanks for everyone for checking it out, for boosting it, for the follow. Thanks for following. I hope I'll continue to put out some content for you all that just helps you get more familiar with one, the strategy that I use, two, different ideas in the marketplace, potential opportunities, um, play me or fade me, right? It's the name of a podcast I've listened to once or twice, and play me or fade me. Hopefully my analysis will help you further determine a thesis on your own for a specific asset. Thanks for stopping by. If you're on YouTube, if you clicked on this video, thanks for stopping by. Hang in there. I do timestamp my videos as much as possible, the ones that I've been releasing lately. So hopefully it helps with ease of navigation. But I'll get right into it here. One of my viewers on YouTube, Leah, shout out Leah, asked, commented, how do I manage these ideas within my own portfolio? What's basically like, what's my position size and whatnot? Well, I will say that not every idea necessarily, I do have a position in a lot of my ideas, but not necessarily every idea do I have a position in. Um, but it all kind of serves to help me know maybe there's a point where I will take a position. um, what's the environment around something that helps me um, make decisions kind of going forward. uh, so the spoiler alert of the video is that I try to reduce volatility in my portfolio these days. So what does that look like on an initial entry for a trade idea, well, or an investment idea? Well, I would say, if you really just want to track an idea, 1% or less in a position, if you want to just track an idea. If you kind of have a fairly good, and I say you as the general you, right? If you have kind of a fairly good idea about a business, about a potential idea on where the stock price is, and you think, wow, it's significantly undervalued, maybe you take a little more position, 2 to 3%, something like that. And I guess I should just say me. If I This is all kind of applies to me and my personal method, but and so like right now, I definitely try to limit my entries to no more than like 3% of my portfolio, because I I'm not always right the first buy, right? I'm not always right when I initially make my trade idea or investment idea. And so you really want to give yourself some leeway to have that trade go against you. And I get it. If the trade ends up working out really well, and you're in there with only 1 to 1.5% of your portfolio, and you're up like 15% in the idea, then you're like, ah, shoot, this kind of stinks. But, we're trying to be disciplined, and we're trying to understand that real money in the market, you can make decent money in the near term time frames, like week, 2 weeks, 1 month, and whatever. But we have to understand that real money in the market is not made unless you kind of stick with an idea for over the long term. And you have to prepare yourself for volatility within that. And so, you could be up 15% initially on your idea, but then you could be back down to up only 3%. So you really have to go with some of the ebbs and flows of markets. And if you enter into a position initially with like 7% of your portfolio, you're really hamstringing yourself and not giving yourself flexibility to manage the trade. Um, and my mentor Tim West, if you know him here on TradingView, Tim West, shout out, um, really talks about if you're emotional about your trade, then you have probably too much position there, because when you get emotional about something, you don't really make the best decisions. So we're trying to look at things analytically, and yeah, be happy about making money and stuff, but um, overall, you really have to be disciplined and stick with things over time, whether that's kind of day by day or week by week or even month by month. We could go over a couple different things, and this will be a bit of a longer video, so I try to keep that upfront with you guys about how I'm looking at things. And now if you're nerdy, yeah, like me, you can stick around for the rest of the video, or scroll through or listen through at like 1.75x. But I have Rivian up here because this is my example of why I try to keep the volatility a little bit more limited in my portfolio now. Because Rivian, I really had a huge position relative to me in the stock, um, which I had actually initially made a really good trade on it, really decent trade, and I don't know where I took profits. Probably not at the tippy top, probably somewhere in here. Um, but I did take profits, as I recall. Uh, and I was like, oh, cool. I feel good about that because it went down, But then it came back, and I was like, oh, Rivian's coming back. All right, well, you know, I'll buy some now because it's kind of done its thing, and now it's coming back. All right, let's go. I'll buy some here. Well, Rivian subsequently really got um, pummeled. And so, immediately I'm in a pretty tough position on this trade, right? So it's going down, and I did buy, I did buy some in here. I was kind of buying on the way down a little bit because I didn't enter with like 10%. It would probably, I entered with like 2.5% of my portfolio, maybe more, maybe two and a, I'd say anywhere from 2.5 to 6% of my portfolio I entered here. And so I felt like I could buy some on the way down. Well, then we had this minus 25% reaction to earnings, and that was pretty intense. But I held on. And I was like, all right, well, because I believe in the company long term, at least at this point, I did. And I was like, well, you know what? I just got to stick with it, and I'm not going to go bankrupt if this entire position goes to zero, right? So um, I did end up, and then I ended up adding more, and I really had to make I had to make a rule for myself that I wasn't going to buy. I was only going to buy up to a certain amount in my portfolio of Rivian, because it kept going down. So I was like, okay, well, I'll give myself room. I'll buy I'll buy to get myself back up to a certain dollar amount in my portfolio. Um, because I'm like, all right, well, at this point, it's either going under or I'll just buy more, and it'll recover. But you have to make a rule. Obviously, if you think a company could potentially go bankrupt, you have to make a rule like, all right, if this amount of money goes to zero, it's okay for me. Uh, Fortunately, Rivian recovered, and thanks to VW for bailing me out in that trade. Um, so, of course, I didn't really sell the tippy top, but I probably around here or so. And the trade from here, and as I was buying, it ended up being about break even, maybe less, if anything, probably. Um, but overall, my performance on Rivian because of this nice trade here, I'm pretty sure I was profitable overall on Rivian. Um, of course, again, I think I exited probably in this area or something. But that shows you the volatility I have experienced in my portfolio, because when it got down into here, it was probably 10% of my portfolio or so, and that was pretty intense. And I was like, all right, I got to cut down some of this volatility I'm experiencing. Now, of course, again, I've broken the rules a little bit uh, here and there, but uh, so I'll show you how do I think about this as it relates to a new idea. And I've covered Norwegian Cruise Line in a couple of my videos, kind of briefly in the past, um, but let's dive in a little bit more here on it. Um, had a positive day today. That's the weekly time frame. Had a nice positive day today, and something I noticed on the 2 month time frame is we have a signal here, and I can't remember if before I did analyze it on the 2 month time frame, um, but I'm just gonna reanalyze this a little bit here and take a look if there's any new idea we can draw. Again, right, we're just looking for as much information as we can get to help us make as good of decisions as we can for the future. So we're looking at the 2 month time frame here on Norwegian Cruise Line. I do think, because I think it was like today pushed it to where it signaled in the 2 month, and we only have 2 days left in the 2 month bar. So that's kind of good, right? It means the signal, it's not going to get like reversed within this 2 month bar. Next 2 month bar, I guess you could potentially see like a red bar down into here or something. Um, that happens. So again, that's something you have to be prepared for. Could I potentially handle a $3 plus pullback in Norwegian Cruise Line before this trade idea takes place, or uh, before the trade idea works out. So we'll take it from here all the way down here in the low areas here, and then we'll measure that range that gives us. That's 117% there. Now, what does that look like being measured from 14.8? So that's interesting. It kind of puts us right there at those same targets there, $32. So now, if we want to play around here, we could kind of do something like this. That's not going to let us measure down to there, but um, so we know $32 is kind of a point of likelihood that that's gonna, well, who knows whether it's gonna play out or not. Again, we're just making our best decisions and our best estimations, but theoretically, there is some congruence there with the $32 level. So, we'll see how it plays out. It's looking okay. It's looking decent. I'm kind of excited for the potential trend in Norwegian Cruise Lines. Um, if we're drawing our little triangles that I like to draw, uh, I can take it from here and go there. But if you're doing like this long term idea, the like really long term idea, it goes all the way out to January to 2027. That's pretty amazing. But you can see Norwegian Cruise Line has been in a huge consolidation range. So if we get a breakout from that range, you know, you could really get a lot of strength that just trends up, um, overall to some decent levels. So And I guess I said I would talk about this from an portfolio size position. Um, you've heard me maybe talk about you get close to these three standard deviations of the long term moving average. You do have to be a little bit careful. You don't want to buy 10% of your portfolio right here because you get a bit of a pullback. Um, so on this one, you could enter with like, now I am a long term believer in Norwegian Cruise Line. So personally, I actually have a fairly big position through calls on it, long term calls. I only have two, but the volatility in calls is like having, quite a bit of shares. Um, but I would probably enter with like, if I was buying shares, I would enter probably with like 3% portfolio size here, and just kind of hope and just kind of wait for this trend to play out. Um, because you could potentially get something where it trends up to here before it pulls back. Um, Again, or you could get something where it comes up to here and then it pulls back into here, and then it blah blah blah. So there's all these potentialities of how things can occur, um, here. So you have to make your best judgments. Um, you have to say, okay, do I want to position myself so if it does pull back into this range, I can really buy more? Or do I just want to enter with kind of a bigger initial position and then I won't be able to buy as much going forward? So it's all those kinds of decisions there. So again, I'll timestamp this because I know not everyone's necessarily going to want to watch a whole 17-minute video on this, but hopefully this is helpful. Again, thanks Leah for commenting on. I'm pretty sure that's your username, right, on YouTube. Yeah, it's part of your username. So thanks again. Really appreciate everybody who's watching and following along. Hopefully I'm helping provide some decent info for you, and you're just enjoying the analysis overall. Um, I'll cut this one, and I'm gonna try to pump out some more videos here. There's a lot of interesting ideas out there. So have a great day whenever you're watching this. Today is Tuesday, October 29th. I'm pretty sure Google just released earnings, and I don't know how they went exactly, but we won't go over it. You can check them out for yourself. Thanks, y'all. See you later.